Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's Shed Adventure. I'm in Shed HQ here. I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to finish a few projects that have. I've still got my arrow. Got a pile of flints outside. I'm wanting to get this spoon finished with this new shaped chisel we have here. And I'm also having a cup of tea, which is rather pleasant. And I'd like to welcome several new subscribers. So thank you very much. Thank you for subscribing and liking. Thank you for your comments. They really are appreciated. And one of the individuals that asked a question about handles. He's obviously struggling. He clearly is a good woodsman. I had a look at his channel and really interesting stuff if you want to know about willow. But he's struggling with his handles. So I thought I would, as I always ask for suggestions, look at some of the handles we have up here in the shed and just see if we can help people to turn a big lump of iron like that, and I'm sure everybody has got a broken hammerhead somewhere, into something useful by applying a handle to it. This axe, which I've shown you before, and I'll show you a couple of other things, a shovel and a spade, and I'm going to have a rant about shovels and spades as well, which you have to forgive me for. So, handles. Historically, this is very much based in England. A handle for a farm tool, an axe, a mash hammer, any farm implement is made of ash. Ash is the go-to wood for anything to do with handles. Therefore, no surprise if you go around old British farms and farmhouses, you will find some big old ash trees because they are deliberately planted there. For just like we spoke about the trees being yew trees being planted around the churches for your bows. Farmers planted ash trees because they wanted to go out there and get themselves a chunk of ash and mend their broken tools. As simple as that. So if we're looking for a new handle for the axe, although that one is actually yew, I think I said to you before, I made that out of a broken longbow. What are we looking for? Well, you want something like this. And this has sat outside the door for a year or so, nicely drying. If you want a handle that big, don't go and look for a branch or a twig. It won't. It will dry out, and it won't be the wood you need. You need something of a bit of dimension, because in here, when this naturally dries, we will find a lovely hammerhead or a shaft for an axe or a shaft for a spade or a shovel. So the big thing is to go for something of some size, so you can get rid of the knots and you can get into that heartwood, and find something with all the grain running in the right sort of direction, which is nicely up and down. So I've got a couple of rather grotty looking tools here. I have an old spade, which was found broken in a field, and I really haven't done a lot of work on this. I got an ash stave, I cut it in two, and I used it to make a shaft for this spade. Wrong, this shovel, and we'll come on to shovels and spades. I haven't put fancy handles on the top, mainly because I didn't have enough wood. But simple, easy to use shovel that was going in someone's bin. I think I got this shovel out of a skip, and with a piece of wood. Not that much work, as you can see. I've hardly bothered to finish it off. I've had many hours of fun shoveling sand and aggregate and snow with that shovel. So shovels and spades, what's the difference? And it's interesting how people sometimes understand the word but don't understand the reality. A neighbour of mine came round and said, I want to dig over the garden, John. He just moved into one of the houses down the street. He knew what he wanted. Can I borrow a spade? I want to turn over the garden. That's exactly the tool you need. However, he saw lying against the front, well, this, a shovel. And he said, perfect, that'll do. And I went, no, it's a shovel. You need a spade. No. Off he went. And as he walked down the side, carrying this, I said, I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Cup of tea, 10, 15 minutes. He was back and he said, no, that's not working. I said, no, it's not. We need the right tool for the right job. And a spade is not a shovel. What are the differences? Well, let's look at what you use them for. So we don't spade snow. We don't spade aggregate. We don't spade sand. You don't see a fireman in a steam locomotive. Oh, I'm going to spade some coal into the firebox. No, I'm going to shovel coal into the firebox. So we know the words, and what he wants is a shovel. So a shovel is completely different tool to a spade for a complete different purpose. So if we look at it, if we look at the angle, it's far more of a scooping action. It's far broader, and it has wings to hold loose items, aggregate, sand, coal, snow. You are moving large quantities of loose items from one place to another. In the case of a man on a steam train, he's shoveling coal out the coal box at the back into the firebox in the front, or you, if you're working, filling up your concrete mixer, you're shoveling in there, 3 to 1 mix, 1 shovel full of cement to 3 of sand, and maybe 1 of aggregate thrown in there, depending on what you're making. And you want that. And to try and do it with this is 10 times, 20 times, I wouldn't say next to impossible, but if someone gives you this and tells you to go and move some sand, you really are going to have a tough afternoon. So please understand the difference between a spade and a shovel. If you want to dig over the garden, if you want to do a bit of peat cutting, although there are very specialist spades for cutting peat. If you want to edge, you can use an edger, but you can get away with this. If you want to turn earth over, this is what you want. There we are. I've had my rant on the difference between shovels and spades. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is, as you can see, this beauty. This is my poor swinging of an axe. It's taking a bit of a battering. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to wire this. Now, there could be a bit of an argument here. So some people say you should leave the damage visible so you can see what you're doing, and if it gets too bad, you can obviously reshaft this. I could probably get away with cutting the damage off and completely repositioning this. Other schools of thought is we should protect the ends of our hitting implement. So a sledgehammer that you might miss and put if you're hitting a steel picket, you might put it onto the shaft and damage the shaft, or indeed this axe where I've been missing pieces of wood and catching the edge. So I will show you in a second how I'm going to wrap this in wire to give it some protection. But of course you're then hiding the damage, so quite literally a double-edged sword, that one. But that's what we're going to do to give it some protection from my cack-handed axing. And then I'm going to sit here quietly this afternoon with this lovely new tool of mine and see if I can get this spoon finished. My challenge is refining this to a nice thin spoon. A lot of my spoons are quite thick because I've never really had the tools to get in there and to a degree the confidence of making them wafer thin and beautiful objects. So we'll try with this one, because every time we do something we try and improve our skills and our knowledge and make it better. All right, well, I'll go away and get some wire, and I'll come back and show you how we're going to do that. See you in a minute. Bye-bye now. Well, that took longer than it should have done. I'm about 45 minutes later, and another cup of tea. This one's slightly warmer than the last one. I seem to have lost my roll of 14 gauge wire. So we're going to have to use something a lot thinner. Won't be quite as effective, but it will do. It'll do for what we want to do. So let me bring you down here and show you what we're going to do. So this is no different to when we are whipping with a piece of string. So what I've done is I've made a huge loop. You see that loop there? And I'm placing that here. And the reason we want a lot of end here, because this is the bit we're going to pull through. And then what we're going to do, we're going to just wrap this wire round and round and round until we get to about there, good couple of inches. Then we're going to tuck the end in that loop of wire, pull there, and it will simply pull the wire, not very far because this will be quite tight, in underneath itself. And it will therefore hold itself tight. That's exactly how you do a whipping with a piece of string. It's easier with a piece of string because there's some give in it. So, make a loop in your wire. Lay the wire along there like that. And then we can start wrapping it around the wood to give us a little bit of additional protection when we're using this as a tool. So you can see I've started winding it round. With 14 gauge wire it would take not very long. It'll take longer with this. And I might end up going over and doing this a couple of times, one whipping on top of another, just to get the thickness of steel. But hopefully you can start to see the idea. So we'll whip this and we'll get this up, and eventually we'll whip it along here, and we'll take this end, we'll put it in there, and we'll pull that loop through, and it'll take the wire underneath the whipping and hold it nice and secure. So what I'll do, I'll continue this and I'll come back and show you when we're near the end. Right, So I hope you can see what we've done. So let's just recap, if that will stay there. We've made this loop. We then wound our wire round and round to give us some protection. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this off here. We're going to take this here, put that through that loop, then this original end, we've wound it round a screwdriver, so you can see the loop, so we can pull. Oh, we can, look at that. So we're going to pull, this loop will now get smaller, and it will eventually disappear underneath this wire, and it will take this bit with it. Difficult to see. Let me just see if you can see that it's just picked it up, and it's going to pull it under. Not far, but enough. And then what we can do is closely snip that end so we don't have a bit that's going to cut us, and closely snip that end there. And there we have a wired protection, and there's a lot of metal on there now. I mean, 14 gauge would have been ideal. Now we have wired protection, so if I miss the log and it hits that, it will protect this shaft and give me a lot more years of use out of it. What I am going to do now, because this has just been left outside and abused, is I'm going to give it a little bit of a rub down. I feel a bit guilty, and I'm going to put a nice little bit of linseed oil on it, and then we'll be good to go for many more years. Boiled linseed oil is very much the finish of choice. You want boiled because it won't dry sticky. I wish you could smell that. I don't think you may be able to pick up, the camera may pick up the the ex longbow, the beautiful mixture of grain there with the dark wood and the white wood. Not put too much on. Make sure we do the end. Plenty over the wire. We don't want moisture getting in there. There we go. So now we have a nicely refinish. I don't mind rubbing my hand over that, because actually the heat from my hands, the linseed oil will do no harm. will soak in nicely. So, and I think while we've got this out, and we've finished that off nicely there, and there's no sharp bits, and we've given it a nice finish with linseed oil on its shaft, I think I will spend a bit of time and probably refresh the edge. So we get my longbow, so we get my axe nicely restored for the winter. There we go. So, axe is sorted out. We know the difference between a shovel and a spade. We know we want to go and find some ash and put that aside and let it mature for a bit. Find some staves to make some handles. So, another successful, hopefully, small short shed adventure. So if you've enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe. That will be fabulous. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye now.